So much for the Twins struggling against the best teams in baseball, because all they did was turn things around against the Philadelphia Phillies this week. Welcome to this week's Chin Music Podcast, part of the powerful Talk North Sports podcast franchise. This is Lavelle E. Neal III, Star Tribune columnist. I'm here with Twins great Roy Smalley, and Jim Suhan, who's normally with us, is on vacation. So somehow Roy and I are going to try to hold this thing down. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Aquarius Home Services Studios, Your Boat Club, True Vision, and Minnesota Masonic Charities. Roy, I was at Tuesday's game. I think you're at all three games of the series. They won on Monday, pulling away at the end. Tuesday was a battle of starting pitchers until Duran faltered in the ninth. Wednesday, they come back from, I believe, 4-1 down to win on a walk-off fashion. What was your impressions of how the Twins fared against this Philadelphia team without Carlos Correa, without Miranda, and without Royce Lewis?
Well, that's really the point, isn't it? They're arguably the three biggest run producers this year, and will be needed for the second half push. They're not here, and the Phillies come into town, and the Twins win a series in really fun fashion. I think that what you take away from it is other guys are stepping up offensively, which is great. Carlos Santana continues to get huge hit after huge hit, which is kind of carrying the club right now. But in the meantime, you can't overstate how important the quality starts and I'm not talking about the statistic of quality start. I just mean the great pitching performances by, literally every starter that they have. If we include David Festa as a starter after they used an opener in yesterday's game. Pablo Lopez pitched like an absolute ace against the Brewers. Joe Ryan pitched well enough to win. They should have won that game. They gave it up. They gave that up late. Bailey Ober was sensational against the Phillies. 2 runs in 7 innings. Simeon Woods-Richardson was sensational against the Phillies. No runs in 6 innings. And then yesterday, Festa really, really pitched well. That deserved really to win the game if he could have gotten one more out, and the Twins could have scored a few more runs for him. But he pitched great. Bullpen faltered a little bit, and then the Twins came back and won it in walk-off fashion. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're looking forward to the second half of the season, there's 2 things you want. You want everybody healthy. Well, Royce Lewis and Miranda are almost back. That's going to help. And then you got to have the starting pitchers give you a chance. If this is any indication of, don't forget how you did that, right? I mean, they were great. It wasn't fluky. They pitched that well. They gave up no runs basically because they pitched that well. And so that's pretty encouraging.
Right, you just touched on the whole health issue, and I just returned from Cooperstown, New York, where I covered the Hall of Fame ceremony, in which local hero Joe Mara became the 4th St. Paul native and 5th Minnesotan overall to be inducted to the Hall of Fame, and Jim Leland was part of that class. And Jim was talking during the weekend, and he mentioned this about pitching, but I think it goes with hitting as well, or with the position players as well. He said, the best teams don't always win. The healthiest ones do. And what would this look like if we can get all these guys back in the lineup at the same time and performing up to their capabilities?
Yeah, it's going to be conceivably, you never know. Guys go in slumps, and guys, don't pick up. When they're back after injuries, they don't pick up where they left off, and sometimes all that kind of stuff. But I think given the amount of games, the amount of time that there is for these guys to get hot again, and given what the lineup has done without them, I think it bodes really well for big offense down the stretch. And, getting the starting pit, a look at what the starters are capable of doing, and then adding Brock Stewart back into the mix now, who pitched yesterday, getting that stuff coming off the mound.
Right.
It's just a matter of health. I mean, it really is. Keep these guys healthy, and we'll take our chances.
Right. I sit in the press box and watch Simeon Woods-Richardson, and I still have trouble figuring out how he's so effective. I don't think he has drop-dead knockout stuff, but it seems like he's pitching, and he's staying out of trouble. He's staying out of the middle of the plate. Simeon Woods-Richardson, Roy, is 3-1 with a 3.27 ERA. Sonny Gray, who's signed with the Cardinals, 10-6 with a 3.54 ERA. But Gray's WAR is 1.1. Simeon Woods-Richardson's WAR is 2.1. What do you see from Simeon, and why are things clicking for him?
So you can have knockout stuff other than fastball, right? So his fastball doesn't get you excited. It's not 97 or 98, but he's developed a really nice couple of sliders. And I don't know if it's by design or whether some of them come out a little bit differently. One of them comes out a little differently than the other one sometimes, but he's got a quick, sharp little slider. One gets a little bit bigger, and he's throwing that in great locations for the most part. You talk about staying out of the middle of the plate. He's thrown sliders most of the time where you need to throw sliders, and he's got a really good feel for the low outside corner strike on his slider against right-handed hitters. Against left-handed hitters, he's got a really good feel for a really good changeup on the low outside corner. So if you can throw something that moves away from hitters to the outside corner, whichever side they're standing on, and then you mix in fastballs that are, that he's approaching, 94 miles an hour, sometimes 95. That's good enough. And I will do a corollary to Jim Leland's comment. Sometimes the best stuff doesn't get big league hitters out, but location always does. And to the degree that, that's what we saw from Pablo. It's what we saw against the Brewers. It's what we saw from Bailey Ober against the Phillies. It's what we saw from Woods-Richardson against the Phillies. So, and to some degree, we saw that with Festa against the Phillies. So it's all about having pitches that go with each other. Woods-Richardson has that. He can pitch it with his fastball inside the left-handers, and we saw him do that, pitch up in the zone, pitch inside, and then fade that change over the outside part of the plate against the left-handers, and he tied them up. And then the opposite was true against right-handers. So pitch inside a little bit, pitch up a bit with the fastball, and then throw that slider outside. So it's about having, quality enough pitches that are thrown in quality enough locations the majority of the time, and you can win in this league.
Right, no doubt. Well, since we mentioned a guy who's hitting spots and being effective as Simeon, how about a guy with knockout stuff? Joan Durant, right? Tuesday's game, he comes in and gives up kind of with a scoreless game, gives up 3 runs. Twins end up losing. He threw 27 pitches, only 8 of them were fastballs. The others were the splinker, whatever he calls it, and that curveball that really didn't look that effective. Comes back on Wednesday, a different man. I think he threw more fastballs. After here's a little bit more, he had success. Do you think he's still trying to figure out how to mix things up between when to trust the fastball and then when to throw in the other secondary pitches?
Yeah, I do. I think he's trying to figure it out, and he's trying to figure it out while the Twins are trying to figure it out as well. The Twins like breaking balls. They just do. And even though he throws 102, they love his curveball, and they like that splitter, that splinker or splitter, whatever you want to call it. And they just seem to be afraid of strike one with the fastball, right? Because everybody knows that he throws 100 or more, and big league hitters can hit a fastball if they know it's coming, and so in a first ball fastball, guys get on that pitch right away. They're a little bit concerned about that. They want to get ahead with something else. I don't have a big problem with that as a concept, but I'm still in the camp of, if you throw 100, then you have got to show that to hitters early enough and often enough so that you can throw, all three of your pitches, because you can't just throw splitters and curveballs. If you're not throwing your fastball for a strike at 101 miles an hour and you're throwing other stuff, I think you're helping hitters. And I think the main difference between the two outings that he had was command. I mean, he throwing the ball to the screen, bouncing curveballs, and he just couldn't get ahead of hitters. And so I think that the whole issue with him is not, let's not throw a fastball to a big league hitters if they think it's coming. If they might be thinking it's coming. I think the whole deal with him is throw all three of them at any time, but throw them for strikes. I mean, just go at the strike zone. Throw it 102. If they hit it, they hit it. Throw your splitter. That splitter absolutely tied up the Philly hitters. That was really good, but it's because he was throwing it for strikes, and it just kind of boggled their eyes. You see a 97 mile an hour pitch come up there and drop 6 inches. They just couldn't believe it. But that doesn't do any good if to have that kind of stuff if you're not throwing it over. And that was the difference between those two outings.
I have seen opponents, when he has started opponents off with that curveball, you can almost see them in the box go, thank you. So he's got to, like you said, I think establish a fastball, work off of it, and then start to get more unpredictable. As they
love his curveball, but his curveball is best when it's borderline not a strike, right? And I don't mean in the dirt. I don't mean in the dirt, but I mean, his curveball is nasty when it starts out mid-thigh high and breaks to the knees or lower. It's really good. But if he flips it up there, belt high, it's just like anybody else's hanging curveball, and he comes in having to throw. Here's what happens. This is the sequence that happens. Guy comes in and says, I don't want to throw fastballs right away because they're sitting on him. So I'm going to throw a curveball. Okay, then he bounces a curveball, which gets him ball one, and the hitter's not impressed. I mean, it's not a competitive pitch. Now, if he was looking fastball 0-0, first ball pitch, he's going to be looking fastball 1-0. So now, oh God, I'm afraid to throw a fastball now. So I'll throw either another curveball or a splitter. And then if you miss with that, then it's like, well, where do you go?
Right.
I mean, it just gets your fear of throwing a fastball just gets worse and worse. So I think strike one with whatever it is, other than a hanging curveball. I mean, I like the curveball late. I really do, because then you can throw it with conviction. You don't care if you throw it for a ball, right? If you got a strike or two on a hitter, what do you care if you throw a nasty curveball for a ball? I mean, then now you can come back with it again, or you can throw anything. But when you want to just flip a curveball up, you try to throw the nasty ones, the first ball pitch, and it's ball one. Now you flip one up there without conviction just because you have to throw a strike, and big league hitters are all over it. So I really think that I get what they're thinking about how good the splitter and the curveball are. I'm going to go back to what I just said. I just think it's the most important thing for him is strike one with whatever. I don't care what it is. I don't want it to be a get me over curveball. And other than that, just throw strike one.
Right. You touched on Carlos Santana coming with a big hit. Roy, it seems like whenever he's in the box, he looks like a professional hitter. Like, you're going to get a good at bat out of him. And what he's doing now is pretty much what he's done over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of OPS, right around 770 or so. But he's had some big hits for the Twins, and he doesn't give away many at bats. What have you seen from Carlos and how he's fit into this lineup?
Well, you just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. He's a professional hitter. He gives a good at bat every time he goes up there. He doesn't give them away. He battles. And the thing that he does so well. And I mentioned it on the air, over the 3 games, Philly, actually the 4 games that I did with Brewers and Phillies. He doesn't swing at bad pitches. So he forces the pitcher to throw strikes. And when the only strikes the pitcher's going to get are ones that he throws and not ones that the hitter helps him out with in the meantime, then at some point in time, you're going to get something in the middle of the plate. And of course, then it's your job to hit it. Once you get a ball in the middle of the plate, you got to hit it. And he's been doing that. I mean, when he makes outs, it's usually because it's 2 strike. He's gotten to 2 strikes, whatever it is. He fouled one off, or somebody threw a nasty pitch early in the count. Gets to 2 strikes. He's battling, and then a pitcher throws a nasty pitch on the corner somewhere, and he either makes a weaker out or strikes out. But he doesn't strike himself out, and he doesn't strike himself out early in counts by getting himself behind swinging at questionable pitches. And he's willing to take a ball in the corner for strike 1. He's not going to swing at a pitch that's not a strike. He's got a great sense of the strike zone and sees balls out of the strike zone really well. So he's going to get balls in the strike zone that he can handle. And this year, especially late in the game, especially in big situations with runners on base, when he knows the pitcher has to throw a strike, then when he lays off bad pitches, it just gets more and more accentuated that he's going to get a ball that he can handle. And I think that's why he's gotten so many just huge hits for the Twins.
Yeah. But before we continue, I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Aquarius Home Services Studio.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Making your life better is a huge priority for us at Aquarius. It may start with providing worry-free water or heating and cooling systems you can trust, but there's another very important reason. Aquarius is family-owned and operated. We work hard to earn the right to be recommended. That means upfront, no-surprise pricing, providing a 5-star experience, and treating your home and time with respect. And knowing we're just a click away at AquariusHomeservices.com.
Your Boat Club.
Got the winter blues? Start planning your summer. Plan on fun and get out in the water with Your Boat Club. Your Boat Club offers boat club memberships and daily rentals with access to over 40 bodies of water and over 400 brand new boats to enjoy. Whether you want to cruise on a pontoon, create waves in a speedboat, or reel in a big one on a fishing boat, Your Boat Club has got you covered. Unlimited boating memberships are available now, starting at just $1.99 a month after a one-time initiation. Life is better on the water. Find out more today at yourboatclub.com.
Minnesota Masonic Charities.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota, or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
And True Vision.
Yeah, True Vision Institute in Bloomington. I was there earlier this week to get a consultation for LASIK surgery. Found out I'm a great candidate for it, and super easy to set up an appointment. Go in there. They run you through a bunch of tests. Their people are very nice, and they will give you a straight up and honest answer for your options for your vision correction. And I'm looking forward to having LASIK at True Vision once the playoffs are over. So go to truevision.com to set up your appointment, and you won't be disappointed at all. Great people at True Vision.
Okay, Roy, I wrote a column for Wednesday's paper pretty much saying that the Twins have what it takes here to chase down Cleveland because their offense has totally evolved since the beginning of the year. I took out a paragraph in that column in which I was amazed when I looked this up. The Twins were hitting, I think it was in the game notes too. The Twins hit their 100th game of the season on Tuesday. Last year, through 100 games, they had struck out over 1,000 times. This year, through 100 games, they've struck out less than 800 times. Now, part of that's because of personnel. some people who aren't here that were around last year. But what have you seen in terms of what this offense is doing from is it more competitive at bats? Are you not giving away more at bats? Do you have a theory as to why the strikeouts are down?
Yeah, it's way better at bats, way more competitive at bats. And so how do you have a competitive at bat? I mean, what does that mean? Well, the first one means just what I was saying about Santana. You know, you don't get yourself in a hole early by swinging at balls or swinging at nasty pitches and like fouling a pitch off early on, getting behind when it's a ball you didn't really have to swing at. And I think they've done a better job of looking for pitches in the zone that they want to hit, rather than just necessarily what the pitch is. They're looking more in a zone, and so it's helped them lay off. You know, what we're seeing a lot less of is guys obviously looking to pull fastballs and then swinging at sliders in the dirt, for example. You know, we saw that a lot last year. We saw it the first month of this season. And then since the end of April, they've taken much more competitive at bats. They have a much better plan. And then when they get to two strikes, there's a decided attempt, it looks to me like, up and down the lineup to put the ball in play some kind of way, hit the ball the other way, do whatever you have to do. And I think whether they'll admit it or not, I think they, as a group, they just felt like being more competitive and not trying to hit the ball, not trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark all the time. I think what has happened is that they came in to the season thinking that their persona, their whole deal was hitting the ball out of the ballpark. And what they evolved into was, we're going to hit the ball hard all over the ballpark. And if it goes out, it goes out, but we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it hard someplace. And we're going to take our walks. We're going to look to be taking walks when we should be. And I think all those things have led to, a new personality on the team where let's hit a ton of line drives and let's not strike out as much and let's get guys on base via the walk. And you can tell, Lavelle, that they're just more base runners now. It has been for 2 months. They just have more base runners, more innings. And there's a reason for that.
Great. Also, there's no Joey Gallo. There's no Michael A. Taylor.
Yeah. I mean that. And the DH that they have, whether it's Santana or whether it's, however they rotate the DH around, the DH, I'm going to say, was fewer strikes. The DH position, fewer strikeouts this year than last year.
Agree. The trade deadline's coming up here. In fact, it's about a week or so from now. Our Twins beat writer Bobby Nightingale Jr. had a story in the paper about Derek Falvey saying that they're looking for starting pitching. Right. I'm also looking at that bullpen too. I know Brock Stewart is coming back, and Justin Topa, who could knock on my door right now, I wouldn't recognize him, is starting a rehab assignment too. What's more important, you think, in terms of adding an arm before the deadline, a starter or a reliever?
I'd love to see him get a nasty left-handed reliever. I think that's one area where they have Thielbar, who has been up and down. He can be really effective, and then sometimes not so much. I think Cody Funderburk, the other left-hander, has a chance to refine himself over time and be decent. But I think I'd love to see him have a lockdown left-hander against how do I say this? A lockdown left-hander against left-handed hitters, right? I mean,
right.
And so that would be one area. Now, the other area that I was thinking about before this homestand was, and this is the good news and the bad news. I was thinking that they need another starter. I still think they do. I don't know that you trade away the farm system to get to try to get a number one, or after the season, you go out and spend $800 million for a number one, just an absolute top flight starter. But I think they're thinking about the fifth starting spot, maybe even fourth and fifth. Right. And so I think they're looking for, I'd love for them to have someone that came in and rivaled Pablo or exceeded Pablo Lopez, and then all of a sudden you've got a lockdown starting staff. Short of that, can they get a starting pitcher to pitch fourth or fifth in the rotation? The good news and the bad news is, the good news, the starters all, maybe they pitch great. Maybe that's good news. The bad news, maybe it's talking the front office out of wanting to spend a lot of human capital trying to get another starter, because they say, hey, wait a minute. maybe we got enough right here. Maybe this is good enough for us, So I don't know which way they're going to go. My personal feeling is, one or both of a starting pitcher and a lockdown left-handed reliever.
I agree with you. I like the idea of bringing a starter and a reliever. The Chris Paddock injury's got to be a little concerning because now they're out of depth. They have no starting pitching depth. They need someone to be available just in case they need this starter. It'd be great to find someone at a Bailey over level or more. I don't know if it's possible. It looks like if they add someone, it would be like a starter on an expiring contract, like a Jack Flaherty or something like that. Next in line is David Festa, who's a rookie. Louis Varland has actually had 2 or 3 good starts here at St. Paul recently. Maybe he's figured something out, but it just seems like they would could use a veteran guy. James Paxton was just designated for assignment by the Dodgers. The veteran lefty he's got ties to Minnesota. So I don't know, but definitely a starter. It'd be great to add a reliever too. I think the left-handed side is kind of confusing right now with Thielbar being up and down, Funderburk's on the IL, and Okert's okay. He's okay. He's not dominant. He's not totally terrible. He's okay. So I agree with you. I think one of each would be the way to go.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to throw out. I keep throwing out wild hair ideas. One of which was putting putting Royce Lewis in the outfield again. Even though that ended in a disaster injury, I think that was a fluke thing. They've got 2 guys who can play third base. They have 3 guys who can play third base, and Miranda and Brooks Lee and Willie Castro. And so against left-handed pitching, where can you get all your right hand, all these guys that can swing the bat in the game? I think ultimately Brooks Lee is going to, when Carlos Correa comes back, Brooks Lee is going to play second, and Royce is going to play third. And then what do you do with Miranda and you're going to have to DH him. I don't know. That was my wild hair idea. Just consider Royce Lewis in the outfield to get all the bats in. Here's my second wild hair idea. Uh-oh. So with Brock Stewart back now, has been injury prone, but he's got 8th inning stuff. There's no question about it. He's got 9th inning stuff in certain situations. I wouldn't hate seeing him in there if Duran wasn't available to pitch. Here's my wild hair. What if you get another left-handed reliever and Topa comes back, and now you have Topa and Brock Stewart and Jorge Alcala, and may potentially even Louis Varland in the bullpen, all in front of Joan Duran, and move Griffin Jacks to start. He wants to start? Okay, let's see. Make Griffin Jacks be the first start.
That is very interesting because Griffin came up, he was drafted as a starter. He likes starting. He has flourished as a reliever. It depends how would his stuff look as a starter versus a reliever. Would it be how big of a drop-off would that be? Could he still be effective? But
Well, that's right, because the question is, I mean, he throws 97, so out of the bullpen. He was throwing 92, 93 as a starter. So,
correct.
So is that just I can come in for, I know I'm going to come in for one inning and I'm airing it out, or did I find something that gives me the ability to, cruise along at 94, 95 and throw 97 when I need it as a starter?
Right.
If that's the case, the fastball is good enough. We know the slider's plenty good enough, and he's developed this really good 90-mile-an-hour changeup that he's throwing at left-handers, well, both left-handers and right-handers. That's enough pitches. That's enough pitches. If he could throw 5 or 6 innings with that stuff, the same stuff that he throws per one inning out of the bullpen, then you've got yourself a starter. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't know that they'll want to give up at this point in time. I don't know that they want to do that midpoint in the season. They have to stretch him out, do all that kind of stuff. But I think it should be put in the back of minds at some point in time. I wonder what Jax could do as a starter.
Interesting. We're going to have to introduce a new segment to this podcast called Rory's Wild Hairs, in which he comes up with a provocative view of what the Twins need to do going down the stretch here. So just to finish up here, Roy, I don't know if you've ever been to the Hall of Fame. Have you been to Cooperstown?
I have. Yep, I have.
So you have you been there for induction weekend or during the off season?
I was there for a couple of days for an induction ceremony when I was on the Baseball Tonight show at ESPN way back in 1995, and I did not. I had to get back and could not stay for the actual induction ceremony, but we were there doing, taping some things in the hall and having some panel discussion kinds of things.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I just came back from covering the induction weekend, and it was an awesome experience down there at the Clark Center. Listened to 4 great speeches. Leland's was the most heartfelt. Helton's was the most revealing.
How was it revealing? I didn't hear about him.
Well, Helton just had some great stories about his childhood and some of the influence some of his coaches had on him.
Oh, okay.
Like a young kid, the coach was telling him, "Don't be a dirt kicker. Just wasting time and not taking things seriously," and helped him focus on what he had to do in order to succeed. He told a great story about Jim Leland. Leland managed the Rockies for 1 year, didn't do too well. But there was a game in which there was a big spot in the game coming up, and he's going up to the plate, and Jim's yelling at him, and he said, "Hey, Todd, did you ever start?" And Todd's like, "What? What are you talking about? In high school? Did you ever start in high school?" And Helton's like, "Yeah." He gets up to the plate, and then he stops. He looks back at Leland, and he realized he was just saying that just to get him to calm down. And so it worked, Adrian Beltre's got a great sense of humor, fantastic sense of humor. I didn't know it was that. He got kicked out of a game. He got ejected because he's really good friends with Felix Hernandez, and they were playing each other. And he was taunting him, and Felix were like yelling stuff at each other back and forth across the field. And so Beltre was playfully taunting Felix, and the third base umpire looked over and tossed him from the game because he thought he was trash talking. I thought that was weird. But what are your thoughts on Joe Mauer, the first player born in the 80s to be in the Hall of Fame, and the first player who debuted in the 2000s to reach the Hall of Fame?
Well, couldn't happen to a better guy, could it? His life has been storybook almost since he was 2. Yep. And so, why not? Why not just end his baseball journey from age 2 to finishing his career or age 2 to wherever he is now, finishing it all up with not only the first ballot Hall of Fame induction, but the youngest guy to go in there. Of course that's Joe.
Right, absolutely. Good for him. Don't know when another Minnesotan is going to reach the Hall of Fame. Maybe there's a couple players on the roster we just haven't that may blossom into that eventually. Joe's son Chip is 5, and he likes swinging a bat. But that means I'd have to be 98 years old to watch his induction speech, and I don't know if I'm gonna have a Sid Hartman-like career. So,
well, we're hoping so.
We'll see. All right. Well, that'd do it for this week. Jim Sohan will join us next week, and we'll be back at full strength. For Roy Smalley, this is Lavelle Neal. We thank Aquarius Home Services Studios, Your Boat Club, True Vision, and Minnesota Masonic Charities for sponsoring the Chin Music Podcast.